What's up? This is Jeremy Picker with Amber Creative, and I'm up in Fort Collins, Colorado with my friend, client, former teammate, Jimmy Bryant, aka Atomic Child. What's up, Jimmy? How you doing, man?
Thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
I know. I've never been up to his spot up here. We used to live and work in the same...
We used to work this far apart?
Yeah. In very small offices. But, you know, today is kind of a cool thing to see all of the products Jimmy's been building up over the years. You know, I saw him when he first started with an enamel pin and a beanie and a sticker, and now he has thousands of products. And so we'll show you some of those things. But really, I wanted to pick his brain because the amount of knowledge this guy has throughout his career in design, and then now owning his own brand, I think could really be beneficial, not only to startup brands, but to people in our industry that are helping brands succeed. So, Jimmy, can you give just a quick background of your kind of creative journey throughout your life? So I know that's not quick, but
so
7 years ago, and then I'll ask you a few questions.
So you actually know me before I could even use Adobe Illustrator. I had to lie about that to work with you. I didn't really know how to use it.
The Creative Suite, everyone.
I still hate it today. I hate Illustrator. Just a kind of quick, I was just one of those kids who drew forever. I was lucky enough to have parents that encouraged it. So they never were like, don't do that, get a real job. They kind of let me go down that path. After high school, I had a really cool art teacher. She encouraged me. Once again, got encouragement as a kid. I think a lot of kids get zero encouragement or are told to do something else. Because at least when we grew up in the 80s, there wasn't a lot of paths for a creative future. Then I went to college here in Colorado. Got a degree in graphic design with a specialty in illustration. And then basically for the next 15 years, struggled. Had a construction job, just created at night. And then when I was like 32 or 33, get a job with this guy. It was the first time I ever had a real job getting paid doing anything creative. And then we worked together for about 4.5 years. I took all that free knowledge that you gave me and was able to create products and start a brand. So now we're nationwide in REI. We've sold over 1 million stickers, probably more than like 1.5 million, can't keep track. And so it's just me doing the design, and now we have like 8 employees. Yeah, it's crazy.
Kind of going back to right before you came on with Amber, you were a freelancer, and I know a lot of people, they want to lose their day job and become a freelancer, but you find out that you're not designing all the time unless you have a plethora of designer or a plethora of clients. You have to go do sales and not just design. So what was that transition or that decision that you made from, you know, doing it freelancing to actually getting a job, you know, in that creative field? Because that was a big jump from where you were.
So freelance creative design will break you. I think a lot of people think that when you're going to do freelance that you're going to work for yourself and it's going to be great, but you're actually just trading one person that you can't stand to work with to 50 people you can't stand to work with. So I worked in band merch design. That's probably why I'm pretty jaded about freelance. To this day, the rates are pretty terrible. There's only been a few bands that have paid me decently or really well in the 15 years I did that. But yeah, I was doing freelance and I was just sick of it. I couldn't pay my bills. I was broke. I was washing dishes to help pay rent. And I was just like, the girlfriend was, my wife now, but the girlfriend was just like, you need to do something with your life. So I wanted to get a real job in art. So yeah, that's why I did that.
Well, that's, you know, my background is the band merch world. And so when he says,
you know how much you make.
Yeah. When he says freelance, it's more of spec work, designs, given a bunch of free ideas, and then they pick the ones they like, which is such a backwards way of approaching a merchandise collection, right? You actually need to think through it, not just, hey, this is what this designer feels like this day and hope someone likes it, versus actually, let's talk about our end client, our fans, and then see what they're going to like. So we're both kind of jaded from the merch industry. I think that's what, you know, when I saw his portfolio when he was coming to work for Amber, you know, all of these hand-drawn, illustrated, you know, a lot of it punk rock, designs kind of, you know, you could tell someone's taste level with merchandise. You know, we get a lot of designer resumes, but you can tell within 5 minutes if they're going to succeed, because it's not just about how much skill you have. It's your creativity. And when I saw Jimmy's, we were like, you know, we didn't talk to anyone else, and so he was a great asset over time. But you know, as you transition from freelance back to corporate life, even though we were a small business, you know, having that kind of secure day-to-day, going to it's all on you, all on your back.
I think luckily, like, we were friends at that point, and it was a small team, so it wasn't like a boss-employee relationship. So luckily with you, I was able to be like, hey, can I take off Fridays? And, you know, yes. And then I was like, hey, can I take off Thursdays? And you're like, yes. So it was able to be a slow transition. And I think anybody who is trying to get away from a job and go full time, you know, as long as the person you're working for is understanding, you should try to do a slow transition. I saved up money because I did it a few times before where I didn't save any money and I just jumped into it. And that I ended up living with my parents and I was broke and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, try to slowly wean off that. Try to find a utility client. That's what I did. I found that art director job at the soda factory where basically I was like, okay, this one job that I have to go in 1 day a week, so 4 times a month, pays my rent. And I was like, as long as I can pay my rent, I can push off all the other bills and make it work. So just plan, try to work part-time, and try to get utility clients, because jumping right into it is it makes your life hard because you can't say no to jobs. You have to say yes to everything. So you're like taking jobs that you shouldn't, and it's not building your portfolio, and it's just a really bad tumble downhill, which I've done a few times.
It's probably a lot easier when you're 20, 21 versus, you know, what were you, mid-30s?
32, 33, yeah. I mean, I didn't have a kid or anything, so yeah, I mean, without but like, David works here with me. You know, I met him 2017 or 18 doing markets, and they had 3 kids, so you can do it. It's just way harder.
It's a struggle. So as kind of that journey of going to work for yourself, was there ever any oh crap moment of like, why did I do this? Or, you know, like, is this the right call? Like, did you go through those feelings, or were you by that time pretty confident of, you know, your new career path?
I think I started doing markets before I quit and went full-time myself. So like, I knew that if anything, I could sell stuff on the weekend and make hundreds to thousands of dollars. So I didn't have any of that. I had done it twice before and not planned where I was like that. It was really scary. But this time I planned like an adult. So yeah, and I knew that I could sell products on the weekends and make the rent and everything. So I had no idea where it would go or how much or anything. But yeah, this time, like my 3rd time doing it, I wasn't worried about it.
And as, you know, your products evolved, what is a tip that you can give people out there that are, you know, maybe they're just doing t-shirts and they want to expand their brand? What are some approaches that you think they should look into as they're kind of developing a merch line versus, you know, a lot of people just sell t-shirts on Printful, which there's a market for that, but to create your own brand, you're going to have to go beyond what everyone else can get and start doing a lot of these customized pieces. So what is a tip that you would like tell people on when to approach, you know, expanding their product line?
I think when you start, I think stuff like Printful and just creating a website and not having to carry stock is actually really good. Obviously, it's a different quality of product. Direct-to-garment printing is actually a lot better now. But I think when you start, I mean, it's better now than it was. Screen printing, yeah. I mean, I still love screen printing as well. I have thousands of dollars of screen printing shirts.
There's definitely a market.
Yeah, but I think when you begin, like, to not have stock and just to see if it sells is the most important thing. Don't worry about, you know, the cost and everything. All you want to do when you start is to see if it actually sells to people besides your family and friends, because there's only so many of them that are going to buy it. And then as an adult, we all know that you got to earn more money than that.
They can only have so many atomic child.
Yeah. But I think as you're more successful and you start expanding, it's really just like, we're kind of lucky because we do a lot of markets in person. So people are telling us like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? So then it's just picking the things that make sense and testing them out. I usually do a smaller run on a new product. And then if it sells out right away, then I ramp that up and just slowly move up and just not like I remember the first time I ever did this, I was like 25, maybe 24. I got a $4,000 credit card, and I was like, $4,000 worth of t-shirts, gonna sell them. I didn't ever sell those shirts. So just planning, taking it easy in the beginning. It doesn't have to be a full thing to start. Small, and then as you grow, just use your audience to gauge products.
So with the audience, how have you kind of refined your customer segment? I know that you probably didn't imagine you would be this big outdoor brand, but how did you find kind of your niche client? And I'm sure that it kind of expands a lot of different types of demographics, but how many years did it take you to really refine who your audience is?
You know, that's probably still a good question for me now. As we do markets, like we sell to all different types of people. I mean, as far as niches go, outdoors is pretty broad. Yeah, sure. We all live in the outdoors. Yeah, so
there's nature.
So, you know, it's a pretty broad niche, but it is a niche. I think the biggest thing that helped me see what type of customers are purchasing our products is actually going out and do real markets. Because this day and age, you can't, like me, you, everybody here can start a brand right now online and sell products. But if we don't have an audience, it's completely pointless. And if you don't have an audience, you need to find a place where audiences are at. So doing markets in your local town, city, or whatever, selling to complete strangers is the best way to find your audience. And you may have to do 5 or 10 because some are going to be terrible, some you're not going to make money. But within 10, you're going to know either your stuff is selling or where it's going to sell or who's buying it. Like you'll know by 10. So I would say go out and do markets in person. That's going to be your best way if you want to sell products.
Yeah, because I remember you saying like some of the markets you went to was just like crickets. Everyone's like, oh, I like it, but no one buys. And like,
I mean, that's a hard balance.
That
still happens to this day. Like you have to find your right places. Like we've done markets this year that have sucked. It's just how it goes. It's not always good. And we've been doing that now since 2017-ish.
So kind of looking back at all that career, I think one thing I see is grit, determination, persistence, like those 3 skills. Anybody can get a shirt printed, anyone can get a hat made, anyone can build a website, but the barrier to entry is low, but it's those other skills that aren't necessarily taught. You kind of have to learn over time. Yeah. To have that successful path.
Yeah. I mean, I always talk about patience and perseverance. I'm a person that quote unquote succeeded later in life. I was like 36, 37. There's plenty of times during those previous years where I probably should have done something else. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of when you're trying to build a brand, I mean, a lot of people are going to say, no, what are you doing? Because it's not easy. It does take time. Everybody's instant success. There's usually 10 or 20 years behind that. So it's just putting in the work and dealing with all the struggles and making sure you're actually creating stuff regularly and getting it out there and showing people. I'm not the best artist in the world. There's probably the most amazing artists alive right now. None of us know because they're just creating artwork somewhere and not
sharing it, right?
So if you want to create a brand, you need to share your work and you need to create stuff.
And put it out there to where people will shut it down. But again, that's how you've kind of refined it over years. So kind of going in the creativity, I know we have at Amber, we have a different design approach on how we do ideation and have inspiration, and we do sketch work and then, full designs. What is your creative approach when you're coming up? And I know a lot of it was off the cuff, but when you're sitting down and you need a new design, how do you start that inspiration?
Just open up Photoshop, grab my trusty mouse and start drawing. I mean, I've been doing this now for 20 years, drawing, 24 years or so. Early on though, I would do sketches and I would get mood boards and do all that. But now it's just, what's the task at hand? Like if it's a park, national park, obviously I just start looking at all the different national park images. What are most national parks have 2 or 3 main things that they always want. And then trying to do your spin on that. But I mean, now I've just been doing it so long, I just open up a thing and start drawing. It's nature. So
it's nature. Yeah. And are you listening to music, podcasts, or is there any outside force that helps you get more in a creative mood?
Podcasts for sure, music. Usually I do a lot of work here, so it's just like bouncing it off other people here, or just whatever sometimes a client will give directions, which is nice because then you don't have to think about it. There's always this battle of when you start, you're like, I want to do my own thing and have all my own ideas and do all this. But when you've drawn thousands of images, sometimes you're like, just tell me what to do. I need my brain needs a break.
Someone to direct me.
Like, I have the skills to do it. I just don't want to have to come up with the idea. And that's like one thing I think a lot of people with like AI, like, I think the ideation possibilities with that are, because if I could just be like, give me 50 ideas in my style of this idea of a design that I have, and it just shows me, and I take the best and do my version of that, that'd be awesome.
It's a design factory right there.
Yeah.
Well, again, I think the whole prompts, you have to know how to talk to it to get, garbage in,
until you can plug that thing in or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to know.
Manual.
Yeah, you still have to have a good idea.
I love it. So in the last year, you've kind of went from entrepreneur, small business, and now you're going into this new realm that I see of educating people and talking about your story and helping young creatives, not even just young creatives, but creatives in general, of how to build their own brands. What was that step that you took to get in front of a big audience and share and talk and put yourself on the spotlight, which is tough? I know a lot of creatives like to be behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was that when you go to a lot of those conferences or hear a lot of people talk, they talk about the best part of their life. They talk about where they're at right now and like how good things are and like all the cool clients they've had, which is awesome, of course. But for me, like I said, I didn't succeed till 36, 37. So for me, I like to talk about from when from obviously when I was born until I found some success, because I feel like most people can connect with the hard part of life because we all are in that now or are part of it or have been through that. So I just like to tell people, like, as long as you're trying and putting yourself out there, like there's obviously people that aren't doing that, and they like, you can tell them all the best feely nice things and nothing's going to happen. And it doesn't happen for most people. And it's not necessarily something like luck is a huge part of it, but obviously working and putting yourself out there you have to do that for the luck to happen, I feel like. But yeah, I just feel like talking about the hard part of life, the journey, how hard it was to do this, all the things that went behind it to happen are the most important thing. And I feel like that's just not a story that's told like, hey, you can be successful in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. Like, it doesn't have to be when you're 20. Like if you go to college, they're like, okay, you got this thing, now your whole life starts. And people, maybe 10 years into it, you just were like, this is never going to happen. And then you do something else, whereas you could have pushed it maybe another year. Maybe it was 5 years, maybe it was 6 years, and something could have happened,
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing, not that you'll ever know, but just a few of those words that you're telling these young designers can make a huge difference. And that's the kind of part where we like talking about, not just helping our customers, but how to make better merchandise. And that's, kind of stepping away from, I'm only going to give my ideas to my clients versus, hey, other people can benefit. You're helping your competitors in a way, right? But that you're unique, that path that you took is no one else is going to have that. And the perseverance, the impatience I think the young people take is, they want to be successful now, and no one's liking my designs now. But your creative voice, like you said, it took 20 years, if not 30 years to develop. And I think that patience of, hey, just start now, because you don't know where you're going to be in 10 years. And it's been awesome to see your journey. I've gotten an inside take on this guy's, creative, when I brought him on, his style, you would never recognize the Atomic Child today back then, but it took him thousands and thousands of hours of designing to refine his creative voice. So, if you don't know what to draw, just draw, right? Design something, whatever it might be, have your social media audience tell you what to design. And that's how you're going to improve and start to have that creative voice. Anyways, Jimmy, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having us. I'm so proud of you, man. And me and Angelo, every time we see your stickers, we're always posting it on Slack.
I love that Angelo too.
Yeah. Everything you see from Amber, it's Mr. Angelo behind this camera.
Mastermind. Super talented guy.
Super skills, knows apparel, knows decoration. Me and him together with, we like to use streetwear trends, and, we try to build all these different styles. Again, Angelo has his own style. I can't design anything, but I've done my market research to know all styles. And so we're able to really create any style we want to and make it look authentic. And that's a fun part, and that was kind of my band world. I couldn't play an instrument, I couldn't sing, I couldn't design, but merchandise was my way to help the band. And so, you know, even with my own company, I can't design, but we make merchandise, and it's that creative direction that gets me excited. So anyways,
thank you, man,
talking about your past and sharing with people. Hope you find it. Go follow atomicchild.com. He's on Instagram, he's on TikTok, he's on YouTube. Go subscribe, follow, like, right? Go
to the YouTube. That's the best place.
Start there, then support small business.
Don't forget the most important question.
So I know we've talked about a lot of things, but it's time to get serious here.
I hope it's food.
Is pizza or tacos your favorite?
Man, I would say I love pizza for everything that pizza is, but I feel like tacos are a good taco is just unbeatable.
So diverse.
You can do so
Good
much
answer.
with a taco.
We approve. Taco approved.
Although if they could a pizza taco, then hey.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, thanks for your time and fashion to the people.